All right. Well, the federal government is trying to. Sorry. Let me take that again.
Take two.
The federal government is trying an old trick to regulate the internet called net neutrality. Remember this?
Bring it back.
2015.
Bring it back.
They say it's because they want free speech and fairness on the internet. That's a good joke, isn't it? Since when does the federal government want free speech and fairness on the internet? They don't want that, really. It's a power grab using an old trick. It's an old dog and an old trick. So we're not going to fall for it. Let's talk about it. Now, I remember, covering this a lot when I was a tech reporter with CNET, and I was like, oh, net neutrality, it's kind of boring. But it's not now, because it's back in a way that's just so transparent of a power grab. And we have seen that without net neutrality, the terrible warnings that, sort of leftist Democrats had warned about did not come to fruition. So quickly, net neutrality is the notion that the FCC can create laws that would prevent internet service providers, or ISPs, from prioritizing, slowing down, or blocking content online. Now, keep that word blocking in mind. This was an Obama-era law, and it was struck down during the Trump administration. California, incidentally, tried to put it back just in California, and that also was struck down in the courts. Net neutrality is kind of a double negative concept. It's preventing ISPs from changing the speed that they deliver different data to you, different websites. Now, why, you may ask yourself, would the federal government try this again right now? Is it because they've been told that they can no longer censor speech on the internet? That might be it. Is it because they're taking it to the Supreme Court, the fact that they're told that they can't censor social media? So this is it's a workaround, right? And so if they can't censor you, then you can tell the FCC to punish companies that are getting you that information. So Google would be told, hey, don't get those YouTube videos that we don't like to people in a quick manner. Throttle that redacted, because we don't like what they're saying, right?
Right.
And Google would sort of understand in an implied consent what they had to do. Now, here is some of the old warnings that Democrats were crying bloody murder, that this would ruin the internet once and for all when it was taken out of commission by President Trump. Here, a few oldies but goodies that the Free Beacon found. This one from NBC said that when we removed net neutrality, it would marginalize LGBTQ people because their corner of the internet would be slowed down. Boy, did that not age well. Right. That's exactly the opposite of what happened. Since the end of net neutrality, the internet has become more LGBTQ. That community has not been regulated to a dark corner anywhere. They are hot and heavy everywhere. It's
They're
certainly
everywhere.
Not less.
It's the opposite, exactly.
It's the opposite, yeah.
If you speak out and you have any comments on that, you will be blocked and banned and taken off the internet.
Yes, yeah. So that didn't come to fruition. Those LGBTQ groups that were worried about not being able to reach each other on the internet with the end of net neutrality. No, that didn't happen. Most of the opposition was about, what you wouldn't see on the internet. That's what Democrats were saying. They were saying they wanted free speech. Well, now Democrats are on the totally other side. So I wonder how they're going to argue for net neutrality when net neutrality is really about free speech, when they hate free speech. I don't know how they're going to be able to make that leap. Here's Bernie Sanders warning about net neutrality back in 2017. Watch.
A disastrous decision. It will impact every American. It will give huge advantages to big corporations over small businesses, to big media companies over smaller media outlets. We've got to do everything we can to defeat this thing in the courts and defeat it legislatively.
Okay. Al Franken spoke about it. He said that it would destroy free speech. Again, remember, Democrats once said they were all for free speech. It's hard to believe, but listen, he said it.
Everyone except these ISPs benefits from an open internet. That's the only people who benefit from it. Are Comcast and Verizon and AT&T. That's it. It's like a handful of companies. And not only is this about business, and it is about business and innovation, it's also about freedom of speech.
Yes!
Ooh, yeah. Remember, they used to like that. Yeah, let's hear it.
Because of net neutrality, we're free to yell like that. No, that's not true. I overclaimed for net neutrality just at that moment. But everyone can see it online because of net neutrality, us yelling for freedom of speech. This means that Fox News and the New York Times and your political blog posts travel at the same speed. The last thing we need is a few mega corporations controlling information.
Okay,
Wow.
only that's exactly what we have now, and Democrats like that. They do want a few whatever that means, corporations controlling speech and content for your safety. They want that. So how can they argue for net neutrality and then also stand against free speech? It's going to be really hard for them to make that case if they want to, if we really want to have this fight again. Social media companies do control information at the behest of the government. So do we want to allow them equal access after this nefarious censorship that they practiced during the pandemic? Well, here's what the FCC wants, this plan put forward by Jessica Rosenworcel. She's saying that here is her notice to reinstate net neutrality because she said it will give them the authority necessary to safeguard the open internet, advance national security, and protect public safety. Okay, that's where I am out. We know now that when you get a federal government and allow them the power for public safety, that's not usually how they use it unless they're a judicial branch. The FCC is not. The Wall Street Journal even spoke out against this, saying that this is like taking us back to the 1930s because broadband providers under these rules wouldn't know what practices are forbidden until the FCC knocked on their door to find them. Well, what do you think they would do that for? For content they don't like. Clearly, that's what we've seen them do anyway. Then the rest of the industry would just be on notice. Like, well, don't do what they did. They got in trouble. What did they get in trouble for? We don't know, but they got a spanking. And so the Wall Street Journal says this regulation saves the FCC the trouble of conducting a formal rulemaking with notice and comment because they're not really laying out what they don't want you to do. They'll just punish you when they see they don't like it. And then they would decide which data delivery that they don't like, not based on rules again, but whether or not they could call a plan discriminatory, right? Oh, you didn't let Joe Schmo's blog through at the same speed as you let through this COVID misinformation, so you're going to be in trouble. Here is what the Wall Street Journal concludes. Why is Ms. Rosenworcel still trying to take us back to the 1930s? Because it means more government control over the airwaves. Simple as that. Well, duh. They have been told by a judge, the federal government, that they can't censor. They've been caught censoring. So it does seem now that even though they're fighting for their right to censor us, they're also going to fight for the right for those things to be delivered in a timely manner to the internet. And then you just push the brakes on things that you don't like. That seems to me the plan. Let me know if you think that we're wrong. It's not at all surprising, but can they do this? Here's an interesting take from Reason.com saying that there is reason to believe that they can't and that this won't stand up in court because of the precedence of this West Virginia versus the EPA decision, where the court relied on the so-called major questions doctrine to make it more difficult for agencies to expand their power. So it does seem that this would probably apply to net neutrality and it would again not survive a Supreme Court encounter. But who would be there to challenge it in court? Most likely big tech, the same way they did challenge net neutrality 10 years ago. So we may see another fight and we'll see how they argue it, right? It's interesting. It's interesting because, like I said, if you are the kind of person who consumes things that the government doesn't want you to consume, you may not get free access to those things in the future if the FCC gets this power grab.
Interesting.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, well, it's amazing that they're bringing it back again. This is the United States' move towards, Online Safety Act, Online Censorship Act. We're seeing it in the UK. We're seeing it in Germany. We're seeing it in Canada. So this is the U.S. version brought back to life once again by the FCC.
Yes.
Try it again. See if it'll work.
All right. Let us know what you think of that.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.